Welcome. You're tuned into Tangled Threads. If you're digging our content, hit the like button and subscribe. Thank you. Long-time lurker, first-time poster. Never thought I'd be the one to share my drama, but here I am, hoping maybe someone can learn from my colossal screw-up. So, my husband Elias and I, we've been married for what feels like forever, right? Solid couple, no big dramas, the kind people envy. That was until Mr. Rich and Charming Donovan came along. Met him at a fundraiser I was at without Elias. He was swamped with work. Donovan was all flashy smiles and big promises. Dude even joked about buying me a Stanley Cup just to see me smile. Yeah, I know how that sounds now, but back then, I was eating it up. Our affair kicked off not long after. It was like living in some kind of fantasy. Donovan had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the world. He'd talk about taking me places, buying me stuff. You know, the kind of life you see in those fancy magazines. And stupid me, I believed every word of it. But here's where my house of cards began to crumble. One evening, lost in the fantasy, I dared to ask Donovan about his grand promises, the whimsical trips, the luxurious gifts, and, in a jest turned serious, the Stanley Cup. That's when the illusion shattered. Donovan's demeanor changed as he laughed off my inquiries. "Penelope, you didn't actually believe all that, did you? Those were just sweet nothings to spice things up between us." I felt like the floor had vanished beneath me. "But you said," I stammered, trying to grasp the shards of the fantasy that was dissipating before my eyes. "Come on, we were having fun. Real life doesn't work like that. You get that, right?" Donovan's dismissiveness was like a cold shower, abruptly awakening me from a dream I didn't realize I was in. It was then that the gravity of my choices hit me. I had been living in a delusion, and the cost of that was about to become painfully clear. I needed to confess to Elias, to come clean about everything. The thought alone was terrifying, but the weight of my deceit was suffocating. The night I told Elias, the air between us was thick with tension. I could barely meet his eyes as the words tumbled out in a messy confession. His reaction was not one of anger or rage, but something far worse: utter disappointment and hurt. "You chased a fantasy, knowing you were gambling with our reality," he said, his voice steady but loaded with pain. That statement hit me harder than I expected. It wasn't just about the affair, it was about the betrayal of trust, the abandonment of our shared dreams for something as fleeting as a fantasy. But Elias, it wasn't all lies, I found myself saying, a desperate attempt to salvage whatever I could from the wreckage. I was lonely, and he made me feel wanted, alive. Elias shook his head, the hurt in his eyes deepening. "And that justifies it? Our marriage? Our vows? Do they mean so little to you that a few sweet words and empty promises can sway you so completely?" I had no answer. The truth was as clear as the pain in Elias's eyes. I had broken us, and there was no undoing that. He continued, "I thought we were stronger than this, Penelope. I thought we were a team. But while I was trying to build a future for us, you were seeking escapism with someone who saw you as nothing more than a momentary amusement." The confrontation dragged on. Each word from Elias was a reminder of the depth of my betrayal. The realization that I had not only jeopardized our relationship for a fleeting fantasy, but had also hurt someone who had been my partner, my friend, for nearly a decade, was overwhelming. In the end, Elias's decision was clear. "I can't do this," he said, his voice breaking for the first time that night. "I can't be with someone who doesn't value what we have, who doesn't see me as enough." And with that, he asked for a divorce. No yelling, no bargaining, just a quiet, devastating acceptance of the end of our story. He asked me to leave, and I did, stepping out into the cold night with nowhere to go, the finality of our marriage's collapse settling in around me like a shroud. The confrontation was a turning point, a painful yet necessary end to a chapter of my life filled with mistakes and misplaced desires. As I walked away, I realized the depth of what I had lost. Not just a husband, but a partner, a friend, and the trust and love we had built over years. It was a lesson learned in the hardest way possible, a reminder of the cost of chasing fantasies at the expense of real, tangible love. Elias kicked me out that night. I had to crash at a friend's place, feeling like the world's biggest idiot. Everything I thought I wanted with Donovan was just a fantasy, And for what? A few months of excitement? I traded my marriage, my home, everything for nothing. So here I am, sharing my story, hoping someone reads this and thinks twice before making the same dumb mistakes I did. Trust me, no fantasy is worth losing everything that's real in your life. Thanks for letting me vent. Penelope Skywatcher, signing off. Update. So, a lot has happened since I last posted my story here. Never thought I'd be back with an update, but life's been complicated, to say the least. After everything blew up, me confessing to the affair with Donovan, Elias asking for a divorce, getting kicked out, I spent a lot of time reflecting on my choices. Not gonna lie, it's been rough. But here's where things took an unexpected turn. During the confrontation when I confessed, Elias said something that's been haunting me. He looked me straight in the eyes and said, "You chased a fantasy, knowing you were gambling with our reality." It was calm, almost too calm, but it cut deep. Given, I messed up big time. But those words, they didn't sit right with me. Felt like he was pinning all the blame on me when the marriage had its issues even before Donovan came into the picture. So, I've been talking to a lawyer about the divorce and, well, alimony. I know how it sounds, especially after everything I've done. But hear me out. Elias has always been the main breadwinner, and adjusting to a sudden financial independence is daunting, to say the least. Plus, his comment made me feel like there was a deeper neglect in our relationship, like I was pushed to seek what was missing. I'm not trying to justify my actions. Cheating was wrong, and I regret the pain I caused Elias. But I also feel entitled to some financial support as we untangle our lives, especially considering the length of our marriage and the lifestyle I was accustomed to. My lawyer seems to think we have a case for a significant alimony, even though Elias and I are both reeling from the fallout. I guess I'm sharing this to get some perspective. Has anyone else been through something similar? Am I wrong for feeling like Elias's comment, justified as it might be, doesn't give the whole picture of our marriage's downfall? Thanks for letting me share. It's a lot to process, and this community has been a surprising source of comfort. Update 2. Thought I'd give one last update on the whole situation since so many of you have been following my saga. Well, the divorce is finalized, and spoiler alert, I didn't get the alimony I was hoping for. Yep, you read that right. Zero. Zilch. Nada. Honestly, I'm beyond frustrated. After everything, it feels like a slap in the face. But let's just say, not entirely unexpected considering how things have been going. Elias and his lawyer did a number on the case, making sure to highlight my, let's call them indiscretions, in bold. Now, I'm not one to speak ill of anyone, especially not in a public forum like this. But let's just say Elias's concern for my well-being seemed to magically disappear the moment things got tough. Interesting, right? For someone who was all about us and we, the shift to me was pretty rapid. But hey, who's keeping track? During the proceedings, Elias had this demeanor, all calm and collected, like he was the sole victim in our fallout. And sure, I made my mistakes, big ones. But the way he managed to sidestep any semblance of accountability, almost admirable, if it wasn't so frustrating. I guess what really gets to me, more than the lack of financial support, is how easily narratives can be spun. How the person who's able to keep their cool, present a certain image, somehow gets to claim the higher ground. Makes you wonder about all the times we were supposedly working through things together, doesn't it? But it's fine. Really it is. I've started to pick up the pieces, figuring out my next steps. It's not easy, starting over, especially under a cloud of scandal, and with significantly less financial security than I'm used to. But I'm managing. Got myself a job, a small apartment, and a cat. Because why not? They say pets are great for stress. In the end, I guess this whole ordeal has been a learning experience. About relationships, about consequences, and about how sometimes what you think is a solid foundation can turn out to be pretty shaky ground. So, to those of you out there reading this, take it from me. Be careful with your choices. And maybe, just maybe, don't put all your eggs in one basket, especially if that basket seems too good to be true. Because trust me, sometimes it is. That's all from me, folks. Jesus, and the fact she tries to hold on to any ounce of anything where she is in the right. How delusional. Anyways, let us know your thoughts in the comments section below. When you subscribe, be sure to click the notification bell. Click here for more Tangled threads.